We welcome you here to our press launch this morning of our pre-budget 2010 submission, The Road to Recovery. And we believe that the content of this document is a real and viable alternative to what the government are currently offering and what we believe they will present on the 9th of December. Sinn Féin today presents our pre-budget 2010 submission as a real alternative road to recovery. We have shown, with our carefully considered and costed proposals, that it is possible to raise the finance needed to maintain frontline public services, protect those in need, reduce the deficit in state finances, and provide an economic stimulus package to create jobs. For most of 2009, the government has been attempting to soften up the public for a savage budget on December the 9th. Never has a budget been more dreaded. The government has made clear that it will base its budget on cuts in social welfare payments, cuts in public services, and cuts in public sector pay, as well as axing health, education, and capital building projects. Once again, the poor, the unemployed, the pensioners, the low-paid workers in both private and public sectors, and families struggling with massive mortgages will bear the burden. With social welfare cuts, it seems that the government is determined to get blood from a stone. But when they are challenged to tax the super-rich, we are told there isn't even a stone. People are fighting back, however, against the disastrous policies of this Fianna Fáil Green Party government, and we welcome that. The past few months has seen people on the streets in unprecedented numbers, in demonstrations, strikes, and other forms of protest right across this state. They demand a better, fairer way. This submission is Sinn Féin's contribution to that better way forward. It is not enough to denounce wrong government policies, and make no mistake, they are wrong. It is not enough to point out that those policies pursued over the past decade are the cause of the Irish recession, and they are. We also have to set out viable alternatives, and that is what we do with this submission. Central to our submission is the need for economic stimulus to protect and to create jobs. Talk of the beginnings of any type of recovery is meaningless when we have well over 400,000 unemployed in this state, 500,000 in Ireland as a whole. Already, growing immigration is beginning to disguise the true level of unemployment. So we need strategies to create jobs, strategies glaringly absent from this government. We are proposing a €3.218 billion economic stimulus package with a range of measures to get Ireland back to work. We are also proposing a €723 million household stimulus package aimed at helping to reduce the cost of living in this state. As a people, we need economic policies that are founded on fairness and that are viable. They also need to instill confidence. Sinn Féin is confident that the Irish people can emerge from this economic crisis and that we can build a fairer society and a more sustainable economy.
The government have been pushing the lane quite successfully, I think, for some time now, that there is no alternative there's no alternative to their proposals. And of course their proposals are centred around attacking low-income families, those people on welfare, old-age pensioners, some of whom are taking home €204 per week. They are not talking about taxation, and they are telling us that's untouchable. Well, we have a very comprehensive package, costed at €7.6 billion total, as Caoimhín has said, and I'll outline some of the key points in it. We want to standardise discretionary tax relief. and that will bring in a total of 1.1 billion. It's a very substantial proposal. We are introducing a third tax rate of 48% on incomes in excess of €100,000. That means that unless you're earning €100,000, you have nothing to be worried about that tax. And if you are earning in excess of 100,000, well, I'm suggesting you have a reasonably good salary and can afford to contribute to the economic stimulus package that we need to work ourselves from this crisis. We are placing a 1% wealth tax on assets over €1 million, excluding farmland, and indeed the package is construed in such a way as to consume homes up to a threshold of €3 million. And again, that measure will bring in approximately 1.6 billion, and that's at a very conservative estimate. We are capping public sector salaries at €100,000 per annum. That measure will bring in 450 million. We also, of course, have proposals around a €2 billion stimulus package on infrastructure development. We think this is an extremely important element. The government have not been dealing with the stimulus issue. They've been dealing with the banking crisis, and they've been dealing with some tax increases in April, but to tell us that that is over now. People on any income, irrespective of that income, can't afford to pay any more tax. Of course, we're challenging that. It's a comprehensive package. It certainly puts it up to the government, and it challenges the government position that there is another way, that very low income families, those surviving on welfare, those surviving on the minimum wage, don't have to be attacked by this government. They are not the people who should pay the price for the government created crisis that we are in. There are other alternatives there. We've outlined them, and what we're looking in terms of this package is fairness. We don't want this to become a high tax society, and we are not proposing that it does. What we are proposing here is a fairer tax system, and I think that is the bottom line of what we're offering.
Very good, Margaret. The mantra from the government in recent weeks and in recent months has been that the social welfare spend is too high in this state and should be the first port of call for cuts in the budget. That mantra is shameful. Is there any member of the government, or the backbenchers for that matter, who could survive on €200 a week? I don't believe so, or I don't think any of them have an understanding of what people are trying to survive on at the moment, and that is the figure that they are saying is acceptable to cut, €204 per week. Sinn Féin has proposed to raise sufficient money to both stimulate the economy and to contribute to closing the deficit without touching a cent of social welfare spend. Included in that figure, and the figures we have presented today, is enough funds to reintroduce the Christmas bonus, putting us a step ahead of other parties who have suggested reintroducing that Christmas bonus, but who haven't spelt out where the money is coming from. The government proposals to slash social welfare payments are not merely unjust, they will further contract the economy, especially local economy. In this state, we are reliant on indirect taxation because of the government's destruction of the tax system in the state. And cutting social welfare in the budget will immediately be felt in VAT and other receipts. The fall in consumption will also hit more jobs in the retail sector. Social welfare payments are in fact returned to the economy. They're not put in savings and they're not invested abroad. The first step to rising social welfare, or to the raising social welfare bill, is the intervention to retain and to create jobs. Safeguarding existing jobs and taking people off dole queues would increase the tax take immediately, and it would also reduce the social welfare bill. This government's blind adherence to misguided economic agenda is aimed at pushing up and pushing the least well off and the most vulnerable section of society. That agenda, ideologically driven, is not just morally bankrupt, it is driving the state deeper into recession.